Now it's time for the final transaction here in the operations, which is the replenishment under the procurement section. But first, what is the replenishment? Replenishment is part of the stock management, okay? It's about how you're going to handle your stock levels, how you're going to define the rules and policies that help you to maintain the stock at the optimum levels. This is, by the way, very important for supply chain. And one of the most commonly method used to manage the stock is through the reordering points. Reordering points include the minimum and maximum point for each item. By defining the minimum and maximum point, for example, the minimum point refers to the threshold below which, when the actual stock quantity falls below this maximum point, then the system is going to trigger replenishment order to restock this item. And for the maximum quantity, it refers to the highest quantity, the maximum quantity that we can keep for this item at our stock, at our stores. Okay, so where we can define these reordering points, the minimum and maximum for each product, we can define them simply here in the replenishment form, or add the product for each product simply in the product master page. You can define the minimum and maximum points. Let's try this by going to, for example, this item or this item number 6, okay? And here in the reordering rules, so we didn't have any reordering rules for this item. Let's try to enter some reordering points for this item, clicking on the new button. Then the system is going to hear the product name and here the location, the stock location in warehouse 1. And also the on hand is going to be displayed here, and here is the forecasted quantity. Just to remind you what the difference between the forecast and the on hand. Forecast is calculated by adding any incoming shipments, any expected incoming shipments to the on hand, and deducting any expected outgoing shipments, okay? The final result will be the forecast. For example, if you're having purchase order and the quantity not yet received, then these quantities should be added to the on hand. And if you're having some sales orders and the quantities are not yet delivered, then these quantities should be deducted from the on hand. The final result is the forecast that we predict to have in our stock, okay, for this site. Here is the minimum and the maximum point. For example, if we enter here the minimum for this item to be like 800, okay, and the maximum to be like 1,000. Then in the to order field here, the system is not going to show anything because the forecasted quantity is not yet below the minimum quantity. It's above the minimum quantity. So we do not need to trigger any replenishment orders. But what if now I increase the minimum here to be like 1,100 and the maximum to be like 2,000? This time here in the to order, system is going to display the difference between the forecast and the maximum. Okay, so the to order the amount that the quantity that we need to order now from this item is the maximum that we can keep at our stock minus the forecasted quantity that we predict to have at our stock. Okay, and this is to order. So the most important figure here is the forecast, not the on hand. The system is considering the forecasted quantity when calculating the to order quantity here. Okay. I can then save this transaction, and then if I go back to the replenishment form, I'm going to find this transaction here for item 6. This is a transaction I just entered with you. And of course, I can simply also enter the reordering points directly from this form here. For example, if I select this time item 7, okay, again, in warehouse 1 in the stock location, the current on hand is 1,100. This is the forecasted quantity, and I can simply enter here the minimum to be 1,100, 500. And in the maximum, I'm going to enter 2,000 here. And then that order is going to be 700. which is the difference between the maximum and the forecasted quantity. Okay, what next? After we have entered the minimum and maximum points for each item. Okay, now we can either directly from here manually create the RFQ, the request for quotation for this item, okay, by clicking on this order link here, or we can simply allow the system to automatically create the required RFQ for the replenishment orders, or also have the option to snooze the creation of this replenishment order for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, or even custom selecting a specific date to choose for the RFQ, okay? For this order, I'm going to click on the order here. And then the system has created this RFQ number 37. If we check this RFQ here in the request for quotations in the purchase module, we're going to find that this one, number 37, has been created today for us. And if you check the items in this RFQ, you're going to find that for item 6, we need 1,000 units for this item to bring the stock level back, to bring the stock level to the maximum accepted quantity. Okay. And now if you check again in the replenishment form here, you're going to find that the to order field has been updated and now it's empty because the 1,000, for item 6, I mean, because the 1,000 unit that we requested now in the request for quotation has updated the forecasted to be 2,000, and the 2,000 now is above the minimum, so we do not need to order any other quantity. Okay. I hope now the process of the replenishment and the idea behind the replenishment is clear now. Okay, thank you very much. See you in the next part.